So the last episode was focused very much on the haves. And this episode feels like it is focused very much on the have-nots.
I could see Howard being a Moriarty character.
He did also say something about just wanting to be a lovable despot.
Lester the robot, let's be real, who is now dead.
Right? Well, dead and coming back. So this is the third time that Paul Rudd has died in the show.
Oh my gosh. You're right.
Hello and welcome to Road Goes Ever On and On. Today, Mark and I are talking about the riveting comedy murder mystery from Hulu, Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, Episode 5, Tongue-Tied, so spoilers are ahead. And if you're enjoying the video, then a like would be appreciated. And because we're a small channel, we would greatly appreciate it if you would consider subscribing and clicking the bell icon for notifications so that you don't miss a single one of our breakdowns if you are enjoying the video. And with that, let's start off with the help.
You were 100% right. You called it. Ursula was going to be back, and there she was, and she's always grifting. She's got some type of grift that she's got. Now she's got gut milk pellets. I also love that gut milk made a return.
Yes, it's like a great callback. You know, I may walk back my thoughts on Ursula. Like, she was just in the background on the first episode, so we didn't really, like, a lot of people could have easily missed her. I still think it's a good possibility, but also she did say something like,
I'd take a bullet for that little Monopoly man.
Now that could be a ruse.
So you think Ursula could be the murderer?
Well, that was my original thing. But okay. Now I'm saying maybe not, because like they didn't actually show enough of her in the first 4 episodes. Like, I think that most people wouldn't have even known that she was in the first 4 episodes.
Yeah. I also don't really subscribe to the Ursula theory because it hasn't really seemed that like the tenants or the help are ever the ones that are the murderers. Like, it's always external forces. It's always people on the outside that are kind of looking in. Like, if they arrested, you know, not Bunny, who's the other one? I always forget her name.
Uma.
If like Uma killed somebody, like I couldn't imagine them arresting her. Like the first season we had Jan that did it and she was a tenant. But other than that, it's usually been an external force. So I couldn't imagine it being Ursula, but I could be wrong.
I mean, we already haven't had a ton of Ursula, and I do feel like she's a great character, but we would get even less of her, you know, because it's... Mm-hmm. I doubt that Ursula's also going to break out the way that Jan did, you know, so I don't think that we would necessarily get a lot of Ursula going forward if they did that. So we'd then lose 2 cast members kind of doing that.
Right.
But I did think it was interesting. So the last episode was focused very much on the haves. And this episode feels like it is focused very much on the have-nots.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think it's another one of those situations where they do kind of social commentary in their Only Murders way, where they don't get in too deep. They don't necessarily take sides, but they do show some interesting things from both sides to give you kind of a nice jumping off point for having a conversation.
Yeah. And like we were mentioning last episode how they do with like topics that are current, like with AI. And so like to your point, the haves, you know, they're talking about creating AI and using AI to replace these people. And like these have-nots are talking about like, we're the ones that are going to be replaced by AI, which is like a very hot button topic right now, where like certain jobs that don't, you know, require a lot of like either skill or thing like this can all be replaced by AI. And this is a general concern to a lot of people.
I know it's a really tough topic. Once again, it's not like a deep dive. It just kind of like shows some interesting perspectives, and then that starts a conversation because they do show some use cases. You know, we've got Vince Fish, and he has a really good thing of like not wanting to spread his pink eye to other people. And so that's a good use case for AI. But on the other side of the fence, we see that it is very much affecting people. And I think that this one is interesting because it's both bringing up AI, which is, I think, a very current thing. And I'm actually surprised that, like, I don't know how far back this was written, because it feels very, like, right now.
Well, I think that AI's been, coming up for at least the last 2 years. So I think the ending of the last season, they could have easily wrote about AI coming in, because it was prevalent then too.
And it feels like it is talking about something that is a potential future thing that people are worried about, regardless of whether or not it actually happens. Tesla, it seems like they are moving away from cars, or at least ones that aren't self-driving. And it's all about like robo-taxis and robots. And if something like this robot is created and is successful, then it's not just creative jobs that can be lost. It can be, manual labor that is lost. So it's like AI and robots can chip away at both ends. Who knows whether or not this will actually happen, but it is a real fear that people are thinking about with like the current times.
We're in the Foundation timeline. We're about to go get Demerzel here, because we have robots that are going to be sentient and thinking and feeling. I'm just kidding. That's not going to happen.
It's interesting you say Foundation timeline. I was actually thinking more of the Silo timeline, because the help reminded me of like the Down Deep.
Oh, yes. I mean, it definitely did. I also like that we got that new character.
Yes. That one is Miller.
Miller.
Gary's dead.
Great character. Great addition. I love this is one thing Only Murders in the Building does great. They find fun and interesting ways to add characters. Like, we never thought of a garbage guy. And even they make a joke about the old garbage guy has been gone for a long time, and nobody even knows who Miller is because he just hangs out in the Down Deep.
Right. Yeah. I feel like they do organic ways of kind of expanding the universe, but then they also will poke fun of themselves for doing that. Like Detective Williams makes the comment about, you guys have been exploring for how long, and you didn't know about this in your own basement.
Yeah.
The casino. So like they've made fun of themselves for the fact that they like keep finding new places inside of their own building.
Yeah. Another little like side note that I really liked about this episode is the premise of the show in general is Only Murders in the Building. How can you like have so many murders in the Arconia? And it's always been like, oh, how did this happen? Oh, it's happening. And then just the next one happens. The next one happens. This is the first season where we've kind of seen the other hotel guests, or the residents and the staff start to turn on our podcasters, because they feel like they're creating the space to have murders happen in this building. And I think that that's an interesting way of like dealing with continual murders in this building.
Right. When people have a difficult situation, they'll look for anybody that they can pin the blame on. And so it's natural that they might pin the blame on this group. But also, like with that situation where in real life, people will pin the blame, sometimes it's on the wrong people. And the group that is reporting on the crimes, if anything, I feel like that would cause people to not want to commit crimes there, because there's a little too much spotlight, so it doesn't make sense that people would think that, but it also does make sense.
Yeah. I mean, maybe murder is just attracted to them, and that's what people feel. And that's why this keeps happening. If they didn't have a podcast, there would be no murders here. But because you're putting that out in the universe, you're bringing all the murders to us.
Right. I also wanted to say about the help, the fact that, it's interesting that another way that it kind of shows the disparity between the haves and the have-nots are also in the way that they're looked upon. The fact that, like you pointed out, the fact that, nobody knew that the garbage men had changed. They're this like unseen force that just kind of does stuff in the background. And they did make a comment about the fact that people do dumb stuff around the help. Right.
They forget they're there.
Right. And so, there is this kind of like view of, I think it's subliminal. As well, some people are full of themselves enough that they may actually look at them as less than. I think that some people, it just doesn't even process. They don't even think about it. It reminds me of like there's some people out there that's like great with the help. You know, like we see like TV personalities that take great care of their staff. You know, I think when Conan lost his platform and was moving to another one, like one of the big things was trying to find something that he could do with like all of these people because he loved them. And so there are great people like that, but then there's also people like James Corden who, you know, on one of his segments of the thing where like they either have to answer a difficult question or eat something really disgusting. Jimmy Kimmel was on there, and the question that Jimmy Kimmel asked was, can you name 2 people from your crew? And he could not do it. These are people he works with. He worked with like 5 days a week.
That's a little messed up. How do you not know 2 people on your crew? Wow.
That's like that level of diva where they are just not, they really do not matter. They are just tools for you.
My opinion of James Corden is still going lower and lower every time I hear that guy's name. So I do think that, you know, we are getting this narrative, the haves and the have-nots, and, you know, kind of what Ursula was talking about of how nobody pays attention to like the help. And we didn't quite see too much detail in that, but I do feel like this season that could be just kind of a recurring theme of like, and that might be what eventually brings down, like, even though the billionaires I don't think are the murderers, I do think they are going to get some form of comeuppance. And I could see that these have-nots, you know, people they work with, potentially the bodyguards that we saw outside of Oliver's place, these people could definitely bring them down or knock them down at least a peg or 2.
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
the season.
You know, the show is big about red herrings, and I think that this episode we saw our first big red herring with, you know, right now the lens is pointed very much at Sophia and Lorraine Kaluka.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's pointing very much at them. I'm sure that it is going to point at one or all of the, you know, the CEOs at some point. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that will come up next, that like they'll be the next target. We'll get some dirty secrets, you know, like why it looks like they are the suspect. And then later it'll be revealed that it wasn't. But I think that some of those stains will like come to light and unfortunately won't be able to be hidden. Or we could even see kind of the opposite, which is like we get that dirt, but maybe 1, they're not actually the criminals, and 2, because of that deal with like Wondify, that those dark secrets can't come to light. And that's another one of the things of the rich, is that they are oftentimes able to bury the negative stories. And so they're able to kind of continue forward, even though we, the audience, learn these things about them. I could see it kind of either way.
Yeah. I do think that we did learn a little bit more about Lester, and like it seems like he, like, when Ursula was talking to him and she knew about the casino down there, and he was tight-lipped about it, and also like making deals and working with Tommy the Tongue, and what that implication meant with his wife and now Mrs. Cacciamilio. Sophia. See, I got the name right, guys.
You did.
I got it right this time. I know how to say it now. It only took 5 episodes, but it's fine. Cacciamilio. I got it. I knew it the whole time. But I just don't know her first name. But yeah, so with seeing that, and like they were kind of reading about like what Tommy the Tongue was doing, or how Lester was working with Tommy the Tongue, this kind of makes also Lester seem a little bit more involved with whatever's going on than just letting somebody in and like not looking who's coming in. Like he's running things, purchasing things. Very interesting dynamic there.
I could see this being one of those situations where he was looking at a way to siphon extra money from the people that had the money. You know, like he was being used in order to let people in on Saturday nights. He was getting greased a little bit, but it probably wasn't a ton. And so maybe he created this like shell company that him and or his wife run that allow him to do this like cleanup work, just so that he can get a little extra money from the pot, you know?
Yeah.
And it did kind of point out, that was like another one of the things that was pointed out with like the haves and the have-nots, is that Ursula's looking for a side gig. You know, it is getting tougher and tougher for people at the bottom to exist based off of just like one job. So
Right.
he might have also been doing the same kind of thing where he was looking for a little extra revenue to be able to. I mean, it's tough enough to live where you and I are. I cannot imagine what it's like to live in New York City.
Dude, that would be very expensive. And so, yeah, I mean, that's also another great kind of critique of like have-nots do have to have multiple side gigs. And even, you know, Oliver points out to Ursula, like, I thought Gut Milk was the side gig, and yet she's looking for another side gig. And
Right.
with your point with Lester, he's a doorman. He's also got the side gig of letting people in and another side gig of cleaning things up.
Right. But I do think that his wife and Cacciamilio's wife, that the two of them, the fact that we're pointing at them this hard at the end of an episode means that they're probably not the real person. There'll be something at the beginning, like the first half of the next episode, that'll be revealed, that'll make them look bad. And then I think by the end of the episode or by the end of next episode, something like that, there'll be something that will let them off the hook. And so I think they're fine. But speaking of the Cacciamilios, I already said that I love the boys. I think this episode made me love them even more. They are ridiculous.
Well, okay. So I also think that this is kind of like another critique of society in a way. When you look at like, there are people like grown men or grown children that live with their parents that like usually the parents are a little well off, so they don't make them like have the need to grow up, and so they take care of those things. And I think this was another little commentary of like, since the Cacciamilios were so well off, like the boys have never had to be adults, and so they've just grown into giant man children.
Right.
I still think it's Brandon, whatever, who it is.
You've got to look at Braden's photo on IMDb. It is absolutely phenomenal. This is such a good headshot. Like,
okay, I'll check it out.
It's great. So I could see that. I think that like now that we heard more of Sophia Cacciamilio's speech about her past with her husband and how she wanted to get away from it, and it was her mom that pulled her husband into that life, and so she unfortunately wasn't able to get out of that life. I'm thinking more about Nona Cacciamilio as being the potential one. I think my three are still, I could still see Ursula as a possibility.
Okay.
Nona, and then Keegan-Michael Key as Mayor
Tillman.
Tillman.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my top three suspects. Even I have no good reason for Mayor Tillman. I just want to see more of him because I absolutely love Key and Peele, both individually and together. So like, I'd love to see more of him in this show.
I agree. You know, I think my top three are Braden. I think it's also Tillman's secretary or assistant. We saw her again. Sure, she didn't have any speaking role, but there is a part of me that just feels like she seems a little mischievous. Like Tillman kind of seems kind of dumb a little bit, you know.
Okay.
That's why he's played by
Keegan-Michael Key.
And he's, you know, silly. He's like, maybe I could just make sound effects on your podcast. Like very simple, where like his assistant could definitely be pulling a lot of strings for him and like getting things done. And, oh, this guy's going to be a problem for your reelection. Let me make sure that he's not. So she's up there. Nona is also close, but I do kind of have thoughts about Sophia because she does seem a little shady. One connection that I made, you know, we saw her in the picture of the birds, and a connection with this hibachi, going to hibachi. When you think of hibachi, there's one cook and you all sit around the cook, right? And the cook deals out food in a way like a card dealer at like a casino would deal cards as people sat around that person.
Oh, yeah.
So I did see that connection with the hibachi And that's also kind of why I'm also leaning towards Brayden. But
Okay.
I don't know. It's probably neither of them. We're probably way off. It's probably Lester the robot, let's be real, who is now dead.
Right. Well, dead and coming back. So
Yeah.
So this is the third time that Paul Rudd has died in the show.
Oh my gosh. You're right.
Because he died, but he managed to survive, and then he actually like died.
He also died as Stubbs.
I completely forgot. Yeah. Okay. So then that would be like 3 real deaths, because the first death was a fake out. Yes. 3 real deaths, 3 real characters.
Every season Paul Rudd has been in there, he has died.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is a running gag that he wants to do another season and die as another character.
They see him again and they're like, "Are you related to I forget his actor's name in the previous ones."
I don't remember which one was which. There was Glenn Stubbins, and then there was Glenroy something. Ben Glenroy. Ben
Glenroy was
Yes.
the first one. Glenn Stubbins
Yes.
was the stunt man. I could see him coming back again as like him, and he's like a cousin or something
Right.
ridiculous. It's like, Paul Rudd, don't ever change. You are hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to like look for a way to weasel in, because he just has fun doing dumb stuff like that, and I love that about him.
He is so great. So we did get one confirmation
Yes.
that Charles is taking testosterone and not actually taking mental stuff. So
Thank goodness. I was worried about that. You made that guess on that. Well, I don't know if you said that about the drugs, but you said like
not about the drugs.
His exercises were about his libido and like getting
He's
in with
trying to get someone.
Yes.
Which makes sense. Like, Oliver has Loretta, he's feeling on the outs, so he wants to find love too. But I don't think Sophia is going to be his love.
No. And I think that he seems to get in with like the wrong types.
He has a track record of liking killers, so that's another reason why
Right.
Sophia is on the list of potential killers.
Yeah, I do think that potentially makes her a little too obvious, but I think he likes like the bad girls, the ones he necessarily shouldn't be with, maybe.
Which is so funny because he played a detective. You would think that, but maybe that's why. Maybe his time as being a detective, he just falls for the bad girls, and I don't know.
Right. But also, just because you play something doesn't mean that you can do it in real life. Like, I think that, honestly, the trio aren't really great detectives. I think that they generally make a lot of wrong conclusions, but they snoop around enough that they finally end up sometimes like partially lucking into the right answer.
Right. I mean, I feel like they always luck into the right answer. They have kind of done leaps where they do figure it out pretty well towards the end, but most of like to get to that part where they finally like make the connection, it is a lot of fumbling, bumbling, and just falling into what they figure out.
Right. I did want to say that with Lester and with, Howard that's going around with Lester, for many seasons, one of the big fan theories has been that there's like a Moriarty type figure. And the biggest front runner has been Howard. And I do think that he is like, I don't know if this is going to come to fruition, especially since there is so much audience attention around it. Like it's big on Reddit in past seasons. And he's such a huge role. That's kind of one reason to do it, is like he has been a presence this whole time. He's a pretty big presence. He has helped them to find some of the clues, even if he does it like accidentally. But I think that's kind of like an interesting idea, even if I don't necessarily subscribe to it.
I mean, I do think there is motive, right? He wants to be part of the trio. They don't ever really let him in. And I think in this episode,
Right.
We heard a lot about that, where he's just like, I'm not trying to get in anymore. I've kind of given up. And if he was the Moriarty behind the crew or behind all these killings, and then he then told, if he joined the podcast, he could be instrumental to solving the crimes. So
Right.
I could see Howard being a Moriarty character.
He did also say something about just wanting to be a lovable despot, which is kind of saying out loud what a potential truth could be.
Right. Maybe Howard is there. I think that is a great question for our audience. Guys, let us know in the comments if you think Howard is actually masterminding all of these kills. Is he the Moriarty? Is he not? Let us know. We would love to hear from you. I have one final question.
Okay.
Something that got brought up this episode.
Yes.
Oliver getting an offer on his place. Couple questions I'm curious about.
Okay.
Who gave him that offer? Because apparently it's astronomically huge. And
right.
Is Oliver potentially going to leave?
I definitely don't think he's going to leave this season. So Dawn did ask, do you think that they're setting up for the end of the show with this? And I said that they could be setting it up like long term, but I don't think they're setting it up this season. And the reason that I believe that is I do think that final seasons are great for ratings. It brings back people that have kind of dropped off over time because people drop off for a number of reasons. And when they hear that there's a final season, a lot of people want to come back to get a final resolution. So I think if they were doing a final season, they would say it.
Yeah.
This is the series finale. So I don't think that's the case. They could be setting up a possible out for the future. I didn't think about that question of who would be doing it and why. Maybe it's somebody, a rich person who wants to break up the trio because the trio gets too close to the truth.
It's kind of what I was thinking about it.
I like that because who would pay more than the going rate for the murder building in New York?
Not just more than, way more than. So a huge offer on a place. This seems like somebody wants Oliver out of it. And I would say he's probably the most bumbling of the idiots, the trio, he's probably not the linchpin of the dynamic. So if we lose Oliver, wouldn't be the end of the world. Just kidding, Oliver. I knew you would hate that. But part of me thinks that, somebody is trying to get him out or break up the trio.
I think you are 100% right about that. I think it'll probably be one of the three CEOs that we're going to find out is behind that.
Or I could see one other person, potentially Fee.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm only thinking that because maybe she wants to be in the trio, or maybe she wants Mabel out of the trio so that she can...
Or just to rain on Mabel's parade.
Something like that, because that was the only one that I thought that might have the financial capability other than the three billionaires. Because honestly, the three billionaires, to me, I don't think they worried about breaking them up because they successfully thwarted them by being the CEOs of their podcast, essentially. So I'm more looking at it. Fee, we haven't seen her in a little bit. I do think that she's going to be a pivotal character. We know she bought the penthouse suite. So I believe she might be the one offering Oliver.
And it definitely, this isn't the end of Thee's story, because I think that Thee's story set up this internal conflict with Mabel. And I think that there needs to be some resolution around that. And I think that Thee is potentially going to be a part of that there's going to be something cathartic where Mabel kind of realized that she doesn't need to measure herself against this person. So I definitely don't think her story is done. And I like that. I think you're right about that.
And also, here's the other thing. Mabel did seem the most affected by Oliver potentially taking this thing. She was basically like, I just got here. I just bought a couch. You can't leave. It does seem to be affecting Mabel the hardest. So that's another reason I kind of connected it to Thee, but still a little unsure.
Yeah, and it makes sense that it would affect her the most. I think that Charles has already felt kind of the one that's out, because Oliver has his wife. I think Mabel has this great purpose around the podcast, and then it just feels like Charles doesn't quite have that. So he hasn't seemed, plus I think with the drugs, I think he's thinking a little bit more with his friend down there than with his brain. And so I don't think he's like really processed the fact that his best friend may leave. And so, yeah, I definitely think that this is hitting Mabel the hardest. And I think her ex-friend kind of causing this problem is a great plot line.
We'll see.
We'll see. This isn't a thing because it's so short. I love the name of Charles's dating app, Last Gasp. And actually, like that's another thing around like social commentary is I think the wide plethora of dating apps that are out there for like so many different things. Like there's like your hookup ones. There's one specific to religions, one specific to race. So I don't know if this is real or not, but I would not be surprised if it was.
But also, the dating apps are not about anything anymore. They're all about money. They used to be so easy to use and easy access. And especially for young men out there, dating apps have gotten worse because they put everything behind like a paywall now. So to be seen by somebody quicker or to be seen, you have to like pay a little extra fee for an extra like, or you can subscribe, and they have like subscription models. And these subscription models for dating apps are nothing like TV subscription models. They're like $40 a month. It's insane. And it's like, I feel like they're preying on young, lonely people to, subscribe to these things. It's another meta commentary about corporations and the rich and just taking advantage of the have-nots that have no dates.
Also, and I definitely don't know this at all. This is like wild speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if a number of these apps focus more on keeping you subscribed for a period of time rather than necessarily finding you the perfect person. Like it kind of reminds me of the language app that everybody uses. Duolingo. Reminds me of like Duolingo. There's people that have like 1,000-day streaks and still can't have a basic conversation because that app is not at all about teaching you. It is all about keeping you there every single day. And so I wouldn't be surprised if like not all of them, but like if some of the dating apps are like that, where they like tweak the algorithm in a certain way to like keep you getting enticed.
Oh, 100%. So like from like, I think, and this is my rudimentary understanding. So like if you are a female on the app, they'll bombard you with thousands of likes that you already get, right? Then going to swipe on people that haven't already liked you is not appealing because you have already all these likes in your inbox. For the men's side, it's very much like you can swipe without ever getting likes. So they have all these likes lined up for women and all of the likes not lined up for men. So it targets getting men to buy the subscription so that they can be pushed to the front of the line of all the likes. And then the women are just overwhelmed with so many likes that they're not actually like going through. So it's just like, oh, this person likes me. Is this a good catch or not a good catch? Or, and it makes it really hard to like get to the front of the line of these things. Anyway, this is rudimentary understanding. I don't know if any of this is real or not, but dating apps are hard for people.
I've also read about bots being on some of those. And I
another
wouldn't
thing.
be surprised if these platforms do just enough to clean up the bots to like show that they're doing that, to like do a thing of good faith, but also not trying too hard, because having fake profiles is another way to keep people on there. Because if you match up with a fake profile, all the fake profile is going to do is like bait you to engage with them, but you're not going to get a real relationship outside of the app and leave with a bot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
I'm getting tinfoil hat here. I might like...
You and me both. The point is, dating apps are terrible. Sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. But with that, folks, thank you for joining along with us. Come back next week as we will tackle Only Murders in the Building, Episode 6, Season 5. We look forward to having you. And if you like the content, a like and a subscribe would be appreciated. But until next time, I'm Mark. This is Sterling.
Thanks.